Reforming financing of college, is it good for us to graduate with debt or none at all? If I could reform it, how would I reform? What is college affordability? The Affordability Act, H.R. 4674, lowers the cost of college for students and families by reinvesting in higher education, reducing the cost of tuition, and increasing the value of grants available for students to apply, such as Pell Grants. Everyone should have access to such opportunities to boost lifetime earnings and to enjoy the personal enrichment that the college experience can provide. An increase in the overall affordability of college would help students feel more secure in their educational choices. History of college affordability. After World War II, the GI Bill helped 8 million returning veterans enroll in colleges paying their tuition. The federal government later created the Federal Perkins Loan Program, which is like the GI Bill but for civilians. The Higher Education Act of 1965 created scholarships and gave low-interest loans for students. In the 1970s, the inflation rates rise as well as college fees and tuition. The Obama administration ended student loan subsidies for private banks, increased the maximum Pell Grant award by more than 1,000.
Some facts. 45 million people hold some $1.6 trillion in student debt. 54% of the U.S. government budget is spent on the military. Amazon made $11 billion and paid zero in taxes. At public colleges, tuition has generally been driven up by rising spending on administrators, student support services, and the need to make up for reductions in government subsidies. According to a report issued by the Delta Cost Project, when schools talk about improving student services, they are often referring to such non-instruction expenditures as recreation centers, computer systems, housing, and food, which play a significant role in tuition rates. Allow us to break it down.
So we pitched in an idea, and it was, should college be free? Now, I think everyone would love for college to be free, but it's impossible. Because if we had the opportunity to make college free, everyone will have the same opportunity even if you worked harder for it. It devalues your degree. Will it also limit jobs? Would our whole values change? Which is why we've created a pros and cons list. Yes, free college expands opportunity for students and has greater accessibility, but in order for that to happen, taxes unfortunately would have to get raised, and increasing taxes will decrease disposable income, which means less money in a household. So if you think about it, nothing is free. So realistically, it's impossible for us to have free college. We already are in debt. Why would we even put ourselves in more debt? Some issues like tuition and fees have skyrocketed in the last 5 years. In Arizona, for example, parents have seen a 77% increase in costs, and in Georgia, it's 75%. College is almost perceived as a luxury since it's not affordable, but we have a solution.
Here is our solution. So our solution consists of an Affordability Act, also known as the Promise College Affordability Act, also known as the PCAA. The first basic years of college course classes would be covered by the government for anyone who meets the requirements. Now, when you read this, you're automatically thinking, well, this is kind of like a scholarship also. Would any spots to receiving this be limited? And luckily, there is no spots that are limited. It is sort of like a scholarship, but it's not limited. This is more for students who meet certain requirements, which kind of relates to the scholarship, but scholarships only have a certain amount. We, as working with the government, helps give out to anyone. It doesn't limit to nobody. There is always going to be a reassured and promised act of help. Now, when you're thinking of how we would do this or how we would go on about this, because it's like almost basically making college free, but it's necessarily not. We are not raising any taxes with this act, or we're not compromising anything else or putting anything else at jeopardy. Now I will be going into our requirements. You must acquire a minimum grade percent average of 77% for your whole 4 years of high school, and you must apply. Applications must be submitted on a secure website, which is pcaaunited.com. There will be certain deadlines as for studying online or any other courses that you'd like to take. We would be speaking with certain colleges and making sure that you get what you need on time also. Now, you're questioning how it'll be done. Now, you're probably thinking, like I mentioned before, will our taxes be raised in any way? And gladly, our taxes won't be raised for much or as much. If we have the Pentagon budget at our disposal, the military's $700.17 billion could pay full tuition for 4 years at a public university for 21 million college students. More students are currently enrolled in all colleges in the country. But in this case, we would only be working with paying off two, which are like your basic years of college, like your English courses, your math courses, and any other basic courses that you must take before going into the classes of your major or minor. So to begin with, we would be cutting back from military expenses for a public 2-year college in district students, but I will be going more in depth on in-state or out-of-state tuition. But for as of right now, public 2-year tuition, which is yearly for the 2 years, is $3,440, and for each year combined, it would be $6,880. In a private 2-year college tuition, basing off 1 year or both years together, it would be $14,587. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking, would it cover more, or like would it be more expensive or still be the same if I went to an out-of-state college and did my 2 years, or would it be the same or in-state? We decided to do the average final tuition, which comes out at $10,733. Now, like I was mentioning before, there's a projected of 19.9 million students that are going in to be freshmen in college. So working with the government, their budget is $3.8 trillion. According to some research, also, most of the money goes into military. We fund most of the military. That is one of the biggest priorities to the United States. If we pulled back so much money from military funding, we could honestly pay off 21 million students' tuition off completely 4 years. But in that case, like we mentioned before, there are many cons to making college free. So there is a predicting amount calculation that was made in 2018 of 19.9 million students. Now, with our final tuition average of our 2-year college, it loads up to about 200 billion. But it loads up to 200 billion without taking out any of. This is a raw number without pulling from students that don't meet our requirements. We have an estimate amount of 70 to 125 billion with requirements. So without going into too much of depth of that, since statistics do change a lot throughout the years, graduation rates change, GPAs change throughout all the years. This is our estimate for right now, and this is our